here's your host, Alexander Garrett.
Well, it is another edition of the Saturday sit-down component to this podcast. I'm Alexander Garrett. And, you know, it's snowing now, so maybe people are back in the football mindset. But I want to talk at length about how this whole week no one even cared that there was an AFC or NFC championship because of this astounding baseball scandal that has cost 3 managers their jobs. And I haven't had him on in a while, but James Simeone, welcome back to my podcast.
What's up, bud?
So, you know, I know you're a big football fan and your eyes are on tomorrow, but would you agree that the majority of the nation didn't even know that there were games tomorrow because of the baseball scandal?
I don't know if I'd say that, but I know for sure that it was overshadowed. I mean, let's talk about, well, let's use example this past weekend, right? So on this, was it Monday it dropped or Sunday
it dropped?
Monday it dropped, right? What should have been the headline in Houston if that didn't drop? Bill O'Brien blows it again.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien might be the worst coach in football.
24-point lead
arguably.
And going into the second quarter, gone as quick as it came in, right? And all of a sudden,
Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, and J.J. Watt, all arguably generational talents.
Yes, absolutely.
Deshaun Watson's up for debate still, and he can't do anything with them. He should have lost the Bills game.
Yeah,
He had the Kansas City game.
By
he
the
gave
rope.
up 41 straight points. I know that's not all on him. The defense played terribly. Not the point. But that Monday should have been Houston radio eviscerating him.
Yep.
And what happened?
The A.J. Hinch report comes down.
Boom. Rob Manfred's like, this is what we're going to talk about for the next month.
Yeah, literally the next month up until spring training.
And give it to the Mets for somehow finding a way to get involved in a scandal that had nothing to do with them. And arguably, that's my phone. And arguably the, I don't know, biggest scandal since...
Well, so it's
Barry
the biggest
Bonds.
team scandal because in the World Series since the 1919 Black Sox. Let's be honest with that.
100%.
Biggest World Series team scandal. Individual scandal, the Yankees have had a couple guys who accuse it of using steroids in the World Series. But team-wise...
that doesn't matter, though.
But team-wise, this was arguably the biggest thing since Shoeless Joe and the whole betting in 1919.
Absolutely.
But on your point with the Mets, how embarrassing is it that Brody goes on and says, yeah, we didn't ask him about the report coming out.
Well, the thing is that if somebody on the Mets should have known that report was remotely like if you're in the Mets front office, if you're in baseball's front office,
right?
Any baseball front office, you should know a report is somewhere like that.
Sure.
He was on that team. The idea that they didn't do their due diligence to check if he was part of it in any way whatsoever is mind-blowing, except for the fact that we're talking about the Mets, so not really.
And it's typical. Now, so I also wonder if now Steve Cohen's going to back off on the deal after all
way,
this.
dude.
I'm
He's a
kidding.
scumbag himself.
Yeah, he wouldn't back off.
He's I think he's had multiple legal issues. I think I was listening to The Fan yesterday.
Okay.
And somebody said, now don't quote me on this, but somebody said he paid something like $1 billion to avoid going to jail for his own.
Jeez.
I think Steve Cohen is apparently the basis for the
Billions.
show Billions.
Yeah,
so
I've heard of that.
I mean,
well, are you surprised the Mets would sell to someone that quote unquote low?
The Wilpons got in a scheme with Bernie Madoff.
Somehow. Yeah, that's true too. Well, but let me ask you, where do the Wilpons go from here with Brody? Because here's the thing. What's happening with Brody is like it's just a terrible movie in a sense. And if he's trying to keep his job, I think he's doing a terrible job, but they may just let him keep his job.
They're not going to get rid of him now because of the situation they're in, I feel like. If Carlos Beltran had a terrible season this year, he'd probably be out the door.
Sure.
But now with what's going on, they're going to find, first of all, this is his, I'm not saying Carlos Beltran would have been a bad manager, but this man just got a huge break that's like, hey, Buck Showalter.
Yeah.
Now, I know that knowing the Mets, that's not going to happen. And I know they had a couple runner-up? I think
Luis Rojas is in the mix.
Yeah, and whoever their bench coach is right now, I think
Well, you know who did manage for their Brooklyn team, and I don't know if he still does, was Eddie Edgardo Alfonso, right? So I thought...
I don't know if they're going to bring guys up from there, but either way...
So you're not expecting a Dusty or a Buck Showalter to come to New York?
I don't love Dusty Baker. I don't think he did a great job with the team he had in Washington. He had a lot of talent on that team and didn't really go anywhere. So I don't know how much I love that, but Buck, I would love it to happen, but I don't believe Buck Showalter is going to the Mets, but that would be fantastic.
And one more thought on this. The offseason for the Mets seemed to be cursed the minute that Girardi got signed with the Phillies. After that happened, everything went downhill for them.
Well, I don't remember what the situation was, but I'm pretty sure losing him to the Phillies is going to haunt the Mets for sure. Because one, he has to see them; they have to see him the most.
Yes,
including everybody else in the division. But it almost, I have a feeling, and I don't remember how everything went down. It's been a while. I have a feeling that they lowballed him, and it's just such a Mets move to lowball somebody that could definitely help your franchise. Say what you want about him as the Yankees manager. He has a championship ring under his belt.
That's right.
And he did a lot with a little over a couple of those years.
He did. Well, and one other thing about that is, so he ends on a very bad note with the Yankees, and one guy, I think he was anonymous, said how bad he was a manager, how evil he was in the clubhouse. Dude's just trying to win games. He's pushing his guys. That's just how I see.
I guess. I mean, it all depends on your perspective. You have to look at it as there's. And now, was it a player, an ex-player that said this?
I think I read it was ex-player.
Okay, I mean, probably someone who didn't get the love from him that they wanted, but maybe other players did, and I don't see that many speaking out.
I don't either.
There's plenty of. Think about how many ex-players are on.
Well, Teixeira loved Girardi.
Well, I think Teixeira is an ex-player that's on TV.
Yep.
CeCe Sabathia's got his own podcast. I never hear him talk about him, as far as I know.
Not in that way anymore.
Alex Rodriguez never says anything about him. So Derek Jeter's never said anything about him. He's still in the public eye-ish. So there's plenty of Yankees that don't say anything about someone who
managed for at least 10 years.
At least 10 years, right.
So he closes out the old stadium, and he brings us into the new and wins the championship the first year in the new.
Okay.
Wrapping up on this, I want to get your thoughts, because I truly believe we've not seen the end of being people named. We saw La Russa get named yesterday. I mean, is this just the beginning of other players or managers being outed?
The La Russa thing is nonsense. That's someone who's bitter. Whoever said that is just ridiculous. What was that, about the
80s White Sox?
It was like the 90s. It was some absurd number. Apparently, the guy who said it wasn't even in the league when La Russa was
playing. And I think he was on his team at
the
one
White
point.
Sox. So it's nonsense. There's going to be no end to this, only because it's impossible to monitor this.
Yeah.
As you can go through every team, what are you going to do? Fire everyone?
Speaking of fire, Mike Fiers has mainly been defended. What are your thoughts on him coming out about this?
Well, as a fan of the Mafia, I don't believe in rats. But no, he did. Well, yes, he did the right thing. But
yes, there's got to be a but there. Yeah,
that's such a crossing the line thing. I get it. You don't want to be part of the team that cheated. You don't want to be the guy who was okay with it when everything comes and
but
crumbles
he still has
down.
a World Series ring, which is just.
But that's the thing, though. Like he gets to keep his ring, and he gets to rat out all his teammates
and get his former manager fired.
I mean, look, it sounds like somebody who had either a crisis of conscience, or somebody who was just bitter with how things may have ended with the team.
Well, that's what I'm
the
wondering
issue.
too. And see, I can't defend Jessica Mendoza because I kind of know where I get it, what she was saying.
Yeah, she was like
but
attacking
she went
him,
on.
right?
Yeah, she was going off on him.
Jessica Mendoza, I love her. I love her. I mean, it was stupid for her to what she did, how she was like accosting him for it. But I mean, I get where she's coming from. When you're in a locker room,
right? Well, let me ask you this.
There's a bond that's hard to break. Yeah,
why can't we question Fiers' motives? Why do we have to all of a sudden think he's such a hero for this?
Well, it's that he's not wrong. That's why he's a hero. It's because he's not wrong.
Sure.
And if you look at it like this, he probably said to himself, people got away with something that affected everyone else's careers. You gotta look. I mean, you hear CC Sabathia, how upset he was.
He's pissed. Yeah,
he was furious about we should have won. Blah blah. First of all, you didn't win. It's over. Get over it. But I guess I have to assume it was a conscience. Like, I don't know if I can live with this. I'm going to have to tell the story.
And he did to The Athletic, who, by the way, were the reason. So the funny thing is, they were the ones that broke the story. Now they were the ones that were reporting that Beltran was gone. So it's like a full circle thing there. All right, so let's put this behind us. I know it's not going to be because these teams this Astro team,
right,
and the Red Sox, are still going park to park this year. Heavy scrutiny every game they go to, every park they go to.
And if I'm the Yankees and I'm any of these other teams, I am not saying a word.
And they haven't been so
just
far.
Because there's the small chance that your team is doing it too.
Yeah, and I know
that's where you can't, because like a guy like CeCe's going off right now, sure. Right. But they find out that his team's doing it, and he's going to look like an idiot.
Well, and MLB has told every team not to say anything, but I don't know how you could be the Dodgers and not say something, because
Dodgers are apparently part of it too. But that's the thing, who's not?
I guess so.
Anyway.
Well, and so we'll have to see how this goes when spring training hits. I thought we'd get past it once the winter meetings hit. We clearly didn't, because here we are. But tomorrow is two very big football games. We've got the Niners and the Packers. We've got the Titans and the Chiefs. It doesn't have pizzazz here because it's not a Northeastern-driven game now. We don't have the Patriots, the Jets, or Giants.
We don't have it here in New York.
Yeah, here in New York.
New York doesn't. The only thing this is going to affect is the fact that Jersey's got gambling.
Right.
And we will all be on that app.
Well, but it's true that there's nobody here that we're going to root. I mean, I know we're all going to root for somebody, but
investing interest. Now, I on the other hand, I am a Vikings fan. You know this.
I do know this.
So I hate both San Francisco right now, and I will forever hate the Packers. But that game is the best one because I have a feeling that the Chiefs game could end horribly for one of the other. I don't think it'll be a close game, in my opinion. I think it's either going to be the Titans just running all over them, slowing the game down against the Chiefs,
right,
and winning by like 21 to 7 or something, and really slowing it down, or the Chiefs are going to obliterate that offense.
Yeah, well, they could go 41 unanswered again this week.
Exactly.
Now, but I will tell you, I'm a little bit of a history geek when it comes to sports, and I just thought how funny it was that the actual Dolphins a week before put the Patriots in the wild card round by winning in the last second. And then the former Dolphins QB, Ryan Tannehill, actually knocks the Patriots out. What a small world that was. And actually, he's had a resurgence in Tennessee, hasn't he?
Ryan Tannehill has had an incredible... He got a... How do I put this? He got a life-changing opportunity money-wise because the contract that he's going to get this offseason, people are going to be like, that's too much money. But it's not. And I think people need to take I don't mean to get on my soapbox here.
Go
but
for it.
Everyone's coming at people like, how can they pay that much money for these quarterbacks? There are only about 12 quarterbacks in this league that you might trust with the football. The Vikings have Kirk Cousins, and he's a mite. Yeah. He's a less than mite on some occasions. But that you might trust Jimmy Garoppolo, Kirk Cousins, Tom Brady's wavering.
Right.
You got Deshaun Watson. You have Patrick Mahomes. You got Lamar Jackson. You got Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, and you have Drew Brees. Did you mention Drew Brees?
Drew Brees. My apologies. You got Drew Brees.
So you've got.
I mean,
and you think
Tannehill maybe.
You think Tannehill could be in that?
Could be in that, but you have to pay these guys.
Yeah.
Look at the Dolphins with a really good quarterback.
Right.
Are not the worst team in the league. Are not even close to the worst team. They're a decent team.
I like
because they had 5 wins this season, which was way more than we thought going into it.
But I do like Fitzpatrick. I think he brings sort of a streak to it.
But you know how Fitzpatrick is. He goes to a team, does well, coming off the bench, then they give him the starting role and he blows it.
Now the other thing with Tannehill is it is sort of like the Wentz-Foles dynamic, right? So Mariota is their guy. And once he's healthy, he'll probably...
Well, no, that's not the health. It has nothing to do with health.
It was not
They benched him because Mariota was terrible.
Really? See, I did not follow that circuit.
Right, so Mariota was awful, and Vrabel just said, I'm doing this. And he put in Tannehill, and Tannehill changed his whole entire career in one season.
But let's say
Thanks to the King and
Derrick Henry. Yeah, and I don't know if you had him on your fantasy team this year, but
I did not. My fantasy team was stacked with Lamar Jackson, Michael Thomas, and Dalvin Cook. So
what is
champion, by the way. Let me put that on the record. Champion. Just kidding.
Thomas, Lamar Jackson we'll get to in a second because he's such a great story to talk about week in and week out. He beat the Patriots too, by the way, in the regular season. But to this, so the Tannehill Mariota thing, does a great rest of the year for him still mean he has a starting job next year? Or
I think where he's getting a starting job next year, one way or the other. It's just whether he stays with Tennessee or if he finds a home somewhere else. That's when they pay him a little more.
Will management want Vrabel to just hit Mariota, who has been their top draft pick the last few years?
Yeah. Well, no. Mariota's gone. Mariota's going to find a new home. Now, I actually think somebody's going to try and turn him into the quarterback people hoped he could be.
Right.
And at this point, it's someone who doesn't make a lot of big plays, didn't throw a lot of turnovers, but isn't winning you ball games in any way whatsoever.
Well, and I remember when he first came out of Oregon, everybody was hyped up about him. Wow,
him and Jameis Winston, they came together. Looking at a package deal.
And then it just. I remember Mariota did get hurt one of the years he was in the league.
Right.
And that probably changed his career path.
Well, I just think the thing is with Mariota is he wasn't very aggressive. He was like if anything, he was more Alex Smith than anyone because he got in the red zone, made plays, didn't turn the ball over. But nothing like, I'm going to throw it downfield and make this play. As a runner, yes, he can make some plays, but that wasn't his go-to.
No, he wanted to throw the ball all the time.
Which is fine. But I just think someone will say, and I don't know if it's possible because I don't know how good a thrower he is, but maybe with what John Harbaugh has done with Lamar Jackson, someone will say, I'm going to stop being stubborn.
Right.
And I'm going to build my offense around this quarterback instead of trying to force this quarterback into an offense that I believe in.
Right.
It's not, you can't throw a square peg into a round hole. It's not how it works.
Well, and that's what Harbaugh has been able to do. He sort of centered that offense around Jackson. But, Lamar was very humble after he lost. I guess they called him into the room and said, hey, what can we improve on? And he nailed it, what he had to improve on. He was like, I don't have to change anything. He knew he had changes to make. He's a second-year quarterback, but I think he's one of the more impressive second years that I've seen in a while.
Yeah, well, what did everyone say all season? If the Ravens get behind, I'm not sure they're going to be able to pull it out. Excuse me, because the way they play, it's hard for them to come from behind or come from down.
Right. With Lamar, you mean, or just
with that offense? Like if they're down, and it showed that being down by, I think they were down at one point like 21 to something.
Yeah, it was not pretty.
It was tough for Lamar Jackson to make up for it. The way that the offense is, it's a running style offense. He can throw it, but then now he's forced to throw it 30 times when normally he doesn't have to, because they're already up by 20. Here's the thing, though. I saw Lamar Jackson get obliterated last year's playoffs. Remember?
Oh,
he played
yeah.
the Chargers. He was destroyed. It was terrible. He comes into this season was arguably he was the best player in the league this season.
True. Yep.
He's probably going to win MVP most likely. He goes to the playoffs after what was 3 weeks rest, which for him, not for the team, but for him was 3 weeks rest. Probably not great for him going into that game. But I'm not going to give him excuses. He did not play his best football.
No, he did not.
But from what I saw from him failing at the end of last season to the way he's played this season, I only imagine he's going up from here.
I think he is.
I don't think the league is going to be able to figure out. He's going to figure out what he did wrong, and he's going to give the league more trouble. So if you guys are worried about Lamar Jackson and you're everyone who's excited to be like, I told you you'd blow it, calm down. They're a Super Bowl team waiting to happen.
Now, we don't just talk NFL. We don't talk just MLB. We both follow the NBA and the NHL. Let's talk about the NBA. You're a Nets fan, and how they've looked. I mean, we're in January now. They've had some tough losses on the road and at home. I mean, they've had some tough games here.
Let's see. We missed Kyrie for a while. He was out from November, December or something to about a week ago, not even. The Nets have I thought in this offseason, I wanted to keep D'Angelo Russell, but I understood getting Kevin Durant means taking Kyrie means getting rid of D'Angelo Russell. I get it. Even D'Angelo Russell himself recently said, if you have a chance to take them both, you do it. Okay, fine. But since they've been on the team, all we've had is injuries and nonsense off the court where all I'm hearing is Kyrie's this, Kyrie's that, he's emotional, he's a problem. First of all, who is leaking that information if you're the Nets? Find out and fire him. Because that's how you destroy an organization from within. But Kyrie himself coming out and talking about his own teammates like we need help. You name teammates that need help, and then you didn't name the other teammates, which means those are the guys you're exiling from your locker room.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to be smarter than that.
And they've not really controlled his social media. I know he's been posting a lot on his stuff.
Well, Kevin Durant loves to post. And I don't care about what Kevin Durant's doing right now just because he's not in it right now. He's an awesome fan for the team. Next year is our year. That's what Nets fans keep saying. But if you're the Nets, you need to find a way to tell Kyrie, look, I don't mind you speaking your mind.
Right.
But let's keep everything in-house. Don't mention who you are. Don't mention what we do. What we do is in this locker room. And he did make that a point. He said, if you're not in the locker room, you're not a part of it.
Yeah.
Fine. But the Nets are in the situation I thought they'd be. They're going to be fighting for the 8th seed probably, and they're not going to be a very good team. And then we're going to get a couple pieces in the offseason. And we're going to win a championship next year. Count on it.
I still think they were, because they had the playoff run a little bit last year, they were expected to get back there this year. So that's pretty devastating.
Absolutely. But it's not over yet, and the East is not very good. The bottom of the East and the bottom of the West are so bad that it's pretty much anyone's ballgame.
What? Yeah, it's, and then I'm a Knicks fan, and I'm not happy right now. I thought when they fired Fizdale that might be an answer, but it seems like it's just not the answer.
They've won a couple of games with their coach, Mike Miller. But honestly, if you're a Knicks fan, there's nothing that you can tell a Knicks fan right now that gives them hope. Giannis and next year, no, that's not happening. Giannis is not coming to the Knicks.
Oh, I don't think so.
If Giannis Antetokounmpo comes to the Knicks, I will stop being a Nets fan and I will move. Because I can't watch the Knicks be better than the Nets again. But if you're a Knicks, but in all seriousness, if you're a real Knicks fan, you've been through it, and I've seen you guys go through it because I've been around watching basketball since about 2001. I was a kid, so the Knicks have been bad since then, except for maybe the 2012 season.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, that's not remotely okay.
Oh, not for the Knicks anyway. I think I told you this story. I was watching Adam Silver last year around this time at the All-Star Game press conference. He's like, yeah, we need more parity. We need better markets. And I'm just like, well, what about your number one market, New York? What are you going to do with them? How are you going to fix them?
Well, he has no responsibility to fix them. Who has the responsibility to fix that team?
Charles Dolan himself. Or James Dolan himself.
You got it.
Yeah. And I hear he dedicates a lot more time to the Rangers than he does the Knicks.
The Rangers are winning, so I'm guessing. And also maybe, I mean, he owns Madison Square Garden. Right?
Yes, he does, yep.
But maybe it's something where he just doesn't care about the basketball. He knows, maybe because he believes I have to put out some sort of product for the Rangers because hockey is not as big a sport and I won't have the fans. With the Knicks, he can just cause controversy and people will show up.
Yep,
Knicks fans are so real.
Yep.
And I say this wholeheartedly. There is no fan like a Knicks fan. Because and much like the Jets, and it's a New York state of mind, blue-collar nonsense, the Knicks are all about bring your lunch pail to work with you. We're going in. We're going to fight. Mm-hmm. They have not been that for 20-plus years. That's over.
Yeah, yeah.
And they've never rebranded themselves and never tried to do something different. And they bring in coaches after coach, and they bring coach after coach, and there's no stability in the front office. It's a mess, and there's nothing they can do about it, because why does anyone – Kevin Durant literally said, why do I want to go to James Dolan when I can go somewhere that
right.
I want – he kicked out Charles Oakley from the
He banned him.
Garden.
He banned him.
One of the most beloved Knicks was kicked out of the Garden.
And the guy who choked out PJ, they put him on the big screen, Latrell Sprewell.
Just can't do that.
Well, let's take a quick look at the bigger picture in the league. I've been following it. I mean, the Bucks just keep winning, right? I mean, Giannis is unbelievable.
He's the best player in basketball.
And
It's not close,
that
I don't
pick,
think anymore.
that changed the whole culture of the NBA, wouldn't you say?
What do you mean?
Getting Giannis in this league changed the whole culture.
Getting Giannis at I think it was like the 13th pick?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. When he came in, he was a skinny, scrawny kid, and he's bulked up, and he has been given that the kid has got the perfect amount of handle for someone his size. and exceeding that even, because there's guys his size that can't even dribble the basketball. He can run the floor like a deer, no pun intended with the Bucks. He can pass. He's got wonderful vision, and when he gets double teamed, he passes out of it. Is he a good shooter? No. Can he shoot it? Yes. Has he made some big shots? Absolutely. Free throws got to improve. That's about it. Defensively, he could be Defensive Player of the Year. That's how good he is.
Wow. And we see him for his dunks. We don't really see him for his blocks, right?
Oh, he's done both, though. But yeah, well, he's done. Well, the thing is, all right, let's put it this way.
Okay.
He's basically Shaquille O'Neal running the floor with the ball in his hand rather than running without it.
Okay, gotcha.
That's terrifying. Shaquille O'Neal wasn't a great dribbler. He could dribble. It's just not the way the NBA was set up back then. It was just set up for him to be in the paint and dominate. Those days are over, obviously,
that
right?
Was it, yep.
Giannis can take it from one end of the floor to the other in about 5 steps, dunk on your family, and change the game's momentum completely. He is the best player in basketball, hands down.
Well, and I know Milwaukee has been on the up and up for the last few years to begin with. So
this is their year.
Who's the supporting pieces that we may not know of?
Chris Middleton was an all-star last year. He's solid. He's a solid basketball. I don't know how he's going to be in the playoffs again. He didn't have great playoffs last year. Eric Bledsoe needs to be the third best player on that team. I think Charles Barkley said that best, too. Chris Middleton and Eric Bledsoe need to be 2 and 3 on that team all the time for that, and they will win it. They will win a championship with that team. They're very good on defense. Brook Lopez from the Nets.
Yeah.
After a few trades, I think he went to the Lakers and with Milwaukee. I mean, there might have been a team in there. I don't remember. He is now an efficient three-point shooter, which he was not remotely in New York.
No, not at all. But they made fun of him for that. In fact,
he can shoot the ball with range. His nickname is Splash Mountain. His brother, Robin Lopez, is also on the team.
Okay.
Defensive enforcer. It's what he does. He comes in, he fouls a couple of guys. He plays a pretty good defense. George Hill, another guy on that team, he is leading the league in three-point percentage at around 50%. That is outrageous.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's guys on this team, really good players, that are helping this team win. And in the East, they're destroyed. Look, I'm sure you can look at the standings. What do they have over the second team in the East?
I mean, they are 7 games ahead of the
second team in the East.
The Heat, yep.
And the Heat, think about that. The Miami Heat, who had no business being in the playoffs this season.
And then, of course, they've been routing the Celtics and the Sixers. I mean,
the Celtics were a team that I thought I still trust them a little bit, but they got to be 100% healthy. And that's the other thing I think people forget about basketball. It's like in football, as even unless you're losing your quarterback, you can miss a couple guys and somehow work your way into the Super Bowl.
Sure,
that's never happening in basketball. If you're missing 1-2 guys, it's over. The season's over.
Look at the goal. I was going to go there. Look at the Warriors.
Now, yeah, they're missing super key pieces, but they lose Kevin Durant to the Nets.
Yep.
Steph Curry goes down at the beginning of the season, which was the best thing that could have ever happened to him because he would not have been able to carry this team into wins, and people would have been telling us how he shouldn't be MVP, had never been an MVP, and all this nonsense. And I don't want to hear that. He's the biggest game changer in NBA history, next to maybe like Kareem.
Well, he would make shots like Chamberlain would make, in a sense, right? I mean,
what do you mean?
Well, I know they redefined the rules for Wilt Chamberlain, so in a sense,
they got rid of when Michael Jordan was playing, after Michael retired, I believe they got rid of I don't remember when the hand check rule came in, but since the hand check rule has been eliminated, guys have basically just been doing whatever they want and really creating great offense for these guys. Steph Curry can't be hand checked, so they can't bump him. So he's just going to go at him, and he's going to shoot, and he can shoot the ball.
From
and I know everybody knows this already, but literally anywhere he wants.
But he also can drive when he wants to drive. He
right,
can drive.
and the thing is, I swear the Warriors ran the same play every game where it was a high ball screen at the top corner of the key, above the three-point line. They would double team Steph Curry, and he would just drop it over to Draymond Green, who's running in the middle of the floor. He would either kick it out to a wide-open Klay Thompson or a wide-open Kevin Durant.
Right.
Or if those guys close out on them, he would throw a lob to the middle, to the center. They ran this play over and over again, and it worked to perfection because they had to worry about Steph Curry shooting from 30 feet.
Right.
That's crazy.
Well, and of
right.
course, now that you mentioned Draymond, I mean, there was a lot of internal fuel going on. That's partly how that dynasty
Kevin Durant ended up
up.
leaving. But I think Kevin Durant just knew it was time for him to be the man. Not that he wasn't the best player on that team, but you're not going to be the man on that team because Steph will be the man forever in Golden State Warrior history.
He'll be beloved, let's be honest.
Right.
But so the Lakers are back where they're really supposed to be. I mean, I've always seen them as the West, and now they're back up there. So
yeah, I mean, you got to think about the run that the Lakers have had over the years, right? We can even go back. We can go way back to the 60s where they were constantly playing the 50s and 60s. They were constantly playing the Celtics. Now they were losing those games because they went up against the greatest team ever assembled.
Right.
But in a league with a few teams, and all the players were on that team.
Yep.
And they had Bill Russell, who's arguably the best defensive center to ever live. But you go from there, the 70s, some rough times, but some championships in there.
Yeah.
They get Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from the Bucks after he just won a championship with them. They have a couple of rough years, but he's winning MVPs, and then they get the best point guard in the history of the sport. You can argue that too, but I think that's probably where it's at. He takes them on a 5-championship run.
Yes, he does.
Then there's a tiny little lull when he leaves, when Michael Jordan dominates the 90s.
Yeah.
But okay, now you get Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah.
They win 3 championships. It was a little bit when Shaq leaves. What are they going to do? Well, they get Pau Gasol. Kobe wins 2 more championships.
Yeah, they did win a couple more.
And they're constantly in the playoffs.
And,
now they have LeBron James, top 3 player in the world. Anthony Davis, top 5 player in the world.
But we cannot mistake that they've recovered. This is the year they've recovered from actually the engineering of, and God rest his soul, but David Stern's taking away CP3 from the Lakers changed that franchise
for the net. Absolutely.
Almost forever until
and
LeBron came in.
And it brought the Clippers into some sort of notoriety, having them with Chris Paul, Blake, and DeAndre Jordan taking the town over for a tiny bit.
Right.
Let's not act like they own the town.
Right.
But taking it over for a tiny bit, getting the opportunity. You have to think how deep this goes, right? So he cancels that trade. Right. He goes to the Clippers. Clippers get notoriety. Clippers become a team that's a threat in the playoffs.
Uh-huh.
The Clippers find a new owner after Donald Sterling does his nonsense after they get Doc Rivers. Remember, Doc Rivers was on that team, and he was like, I can't coach this team with this. Players were not liking him. They get a new owner. That new owner has all the money in the world. He wants to keep this team exciting. He's interested in keeping this team exciting. Now they have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And they're a possible championship team.
And they are right now just third in the West. So they're right up there.
And with their guys taking rest days, which I don't even want to get into.
Well, and we'll have to follow the rest of it. The Rockets, that was kind of the team I was going for because they were standing up to China. Their GM was standing up to China, and I thought that was very admirable.
You were rooting for that?
I was rooting for that.
I get that.
And then when I realized Harden actually apologized to China, I felt really sad about that. But anyway, since that whole thing, they're still playing steady, fifth in the division.
Yeah, but they're not. They don't have.
But they don't have that pizzazz that they used to. No,
it's not the pizzazz. I just don't know if their style of play will win games in the playoffs. I mean, as much as you want to say James Harden is the best scorer I've watched in quite some time. I don't know about all time. We can talk about that. That's another conversation for another day. But defensively, they're giving up a lot of baskets. They're obviously a 3-point shooting team, and I was watching them against the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay,
team on the rise. Watch out for them. They were getting open looks, but they were missing threes, and it was like 10 straight possessions. First of all, the basketball was terrible to watch. But it cost them,
Right.
instead of getting up to the basket, and then eventually James Harden said, screw it, I'm going to the basket, and got a layup and brought their momentum back a little bit. But the point is that style of basketball, and give Charles Barkley credit again, says if you become a jump shooting team, you will really lose. You don't have Steph Curry on that team.
Right.
You have Russell Westbrook, who's not a good three-point shooter. PJ Tucker's okay, but only from the corner. House is a good three-point shooter, and Harden. But Eric Gordon's on and off lately, so that team doesn't play good defense, and they're giving up threes, which lead to fast breaks.
And, I mean, I'll never forget watching them miss 27 threes in that game.
Exactly.
And that cost them. That cost them.
Exactly.
People say, oh, well, they lost Chris Paul. Yeah, well, they
also missed 27
They
threes.
also missed 27 threes.
Yeah, losing Chris Paul sucked. But what I'm telling you now is if James Harden is going to dribble the basketball for a half an hour and shoot it or kick it out,
right,
and that's your whole game plan, you're not going to get to the finals, and you are not going to win.
Especially the other guy in this conference, Luka, is named every night. He's on a highlight reel, and he's changed the culture, and he's changed the way the Jazz are playing.
No,
right?
Mavericks.
Sorry, the Mavericks are playing.
Well, the Mavericks had obviously that amazing run with Dirk, right? All those years. And then for 2 years, they're a bad team, but nothing terrible. I compare the Mavericks a little bit to like the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
I think their coaches are extremely similar, where they're probably some of the best coaches of their era that don't get the credit they deserve. And they worked with an old group, Ray Lewis,
right,
Ed Reed, Joe Flacco, Dirk, Jason Kidd, all these guys. They get their one championship ring. They got to turn to a new leaf, and they both get Luka Doncic and Lamar Jackson. I think it's they have very similar situations. And
they're making the best of both.
Dallas is going to be a problem for the rest of the league if guys see I get to play with Luka, who's willing to pass the ball. He can win us games. And I have Kristaps Porzingis, who when he gets his act together finally and really healthy, he's going to be a problem. 7-3 shooting threes. Come on.
Yeah, and that was still one of the best signings for the Knicks, even though it ended pretty badly. Well, all right.
They got Dennis Smith Jr. out of that, and he's been terrible.
You know, I'll be honest. The only sports talk I hear in town, by the way, is on podcasts or it's on radio. I don't hear people talking like you and I do on the subway anymore or anywhere. Like the idea of sports in New York has dissipated, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's tough though. You got to think, right? Like New York's got what going on for it?
Well, we've got a mess on our hands. In other words,
the Mets just had to fire their manager, right? The Knicks have nothing going for them. The Brooklyn's going to take a year waiting for Kevin Durant to get back, and there's been nonsense in that.
Jets and Giants missed the playoffs again.
Jets and Giants missed the playoffs. They got new coaches, but once the coaches went away, it's like, okay, they got their coach. No, I didn't even hear people talk about Jason Garrett so far.
Right.
And he just got hired as the offense coordinator for the Giants.
I misread Jason. I thought it said Alex. But
you thought it was Alex Garrett getting
fired? I thought so.
But my point is that it's kind of the Rangers aren't great. The Devils aren't great.
The Yankees haven't won in years.
And the Yankees aren't really a topic right now because they signed their guy and that's it.
Right.
It's a lull in New York. And for some reason, luckily on the sports talk shows, they have stuff to talk about because they did just get a new coach.
Yep.
And this Astros scandal directly affected the Yankees, so they get to complain about it for 8 hours.
And Boston scandal also affecting the Yankees.
Boston.
It's all, but I just feel like the culture of sports talk is on the radio or podcast, not so much in person.
Well, you
anymore.
also have to remember now that it's in our face 24/7.
Right.
So there's nothing to lose. Like, I don't need to talk to you about it because I've already got my information from 75.
And who wants another opinion,
No, no one does. Nobody wants my opinion, and I'm on your show right now.
Well, I was going to say one more thing. So James not only likes the Nets, he likes the Vikings. He does like a little more local and he likes the Mets. He also likes the Devils. And let me tell you, for 2 days in this season, we've seen them get rid of their head coach before a game and then the GM last week.
I wouldn't call me a Devils fan. I don't really care about hockey in any way whatsoever, but I do because my friends care about it.
Okay.
And I try to get involved. And this is what I can tell you about the Devils.
Okay.
2 years ago, they were talked about as one of the teams on the rise, and now they're a team looking for life.
Something, yes.
They had to get rid of their best player.
Taylor Hall.
They had to get rid of their best player.
Yep.
So I don't know what that tells you about them. All I know is that basketball season is over hockey season all day, baby.
Well, for many it is. I mean, hockey sort of comes into play in April for a lot of people.
Right. It's
when
like
the playoffs happen.
and look, we love the playoffs. Everyone loves playoff hockey. You don't have to be a fan of hockey to like playoff hockey. It's a strange, some momentum shift that happens. And I'm telling you, Rangers playoff hockey is electric in New York for sure.
Well, I think the Rangers are going to be up there. I mean, they've had some weird losses, some good wins. They've been the thing coming into this year in hockey was supposed to be look at the incoming of Jack Hughes and Kakko. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, Panarin stolen the show for the Rangers. I mean, Kakko's good, but it's been the Panarin show, and it was supposed to be because he was the biggest acquisition of the offseason for the Rangers. Meanwhile, the Devils' biggest acquisition, PK Subban, I mean, he's not driving the team like they hoped he would.
Yeah, I mean, when they signed him, my friends got really excited, but I don't want to speak on something I don't totally understand, but for them to get a defenseman and people were saying that's not all they were missing, as understandable as why is for the reasons they're not playing as well. I don't think Subban's the problem. I just think they needed more, and the fact that they had to trade Taylor Hall and start over essentially. I know they got a young core, but the point is that was part of it, and he wants to go somewhere else. I think my thing is I thought when they got rid of him, all they were thinking was John Tavares.
Yep.
So it is what it is.
Well, and Tavares is staying in Toronto. All right, prediction for tomorrow. Do you want to make one or what?
Okay. Packers 28.
Okay.
49ers 24.
So your arch nemesis wins tomorrow.
Yes, because I want to see Aaron Rodgers crying when he loses the Super Bowl. And I'm going to say Chiefs 35, Tennessee 21.
I was going to go for Mahomes, but then I realized it's the 20th anniversary of Remember the Titans. I'm not going to say they're going to win. I'd like to see the Titans
But don't
win.
forget what it also is. It's the 100th year, right? The NFL?
Yeah, the NFL 100.
What was Super Bowl one?
Green Bay.
And
the
Kansas City Chiefs.
The Chiefs. Well, that would
there.
be kind of history repeating itself, wouldn't it?
That's right.
Anyway, I'm Alexander Garrett. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy your conference championship Sunday. And if you are looking for conspiracy theories about the baseball scandal, don't. You're going to drive yourself absolutely crazy. Just let things play out. And the chips fall where they may. I'm Alexander Garrett. Have a great day.